may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, we shall proceed to correct the votes of proceedings and the official report. We have the votes proceedings of Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page, yes, honourable member for Norton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, please, at page 12, item number 15I. The name of the entity we are contracting with, the Spanish entity, the Compañía Española de Seguros a la Exportación CRD, the Seguros, Mr. Speaker, that is the last but two line at 15I. Seguros is SEGUROS. I've checked from the website of the company, is Seguros. So instead of a U, it should be an O. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Page 13. Page 14. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, please, at page 14, item number 18, motion. The figure provided does not tally with what we have in words. So I'm not sure which one is correct. We have 7,333,621 euros in words, but the figure is in numbers is 7,330,000. So that's the challenge, whether it's 330 or 333. So if the table office could pay attention, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The table office will take note and effect the correction. Page 15. Honourable members, the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, the 7th December 2021, is hereby adopted subject to the corrections as a true record of proceedings. We have two official reports. The first one is official report of Thursday, July 29th, 2021. Any corrections, please? July 29th, 2021. Very well. In the absence of any corrections, the official report of Thursday, July 29, 2021 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. The next one is the official report of Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Any corrections? In the absence of any corrections, the official report of Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021 is hereby adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honourable members, we will go to questions. We have some urgent questions. Honourable Leader, urgent questions, are you ready?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The ministers are here to respond to those questions. So, if it pleases you.
Is the Minister for Finance here?
No, Mr. Speaker, the Fisheries Minister.
Very well. So we'll start with Fisheries. Question number 5D, Honourable Minister for Fisheries. Kindly take your seat. Yes, the question is in the name of the Honourable Member for Futu. You may ask your question now.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this treasure space to ask the Minister this urgent question. Mr. Speaker, on this rising, I crave your indulgence to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development what critical measures are being implemented following the second warning issued by the European Union for Ghana to definitively check illegal, unregulated fishing activities within its economic zone. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghana was issued with a warning or threat to be issued yellow card on June 2nd, 2021 by the European Union for being identified as a non-compliant country in the fight against illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing. The issues raised included the weaknesses in the fisheries law, outdated marine management plan, non-implementation of closed season, illegal transshipment at sea cycle, weak enforcement of vessels cited for infractions, among others. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has planned to address all the concerns raised by the EU within 24 months. Below are the critical steps undertaken. Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development sets up a dialogue mission with EU to address the issues. The first meeting between the two parties was held on 23rd July 2021, where EU was briefed on the plans to address the concerns and the status of addressing the concerns. The ministry sought Cabinet approval to draft a new Fisheries Act to meet all international obligations. Cabinet advised that the Fisheries and Aquaculture Policy 2008 should be reviewed to form the basis for the review of the current fisheries law. The Fisheries and Aquaculture Policy 2021 was validated by stakeholders on the 4th of November 2021. The policy will be submitted to Cabinet for approval and gazetted for implementation in 2022. Stakeholder consultation on the draft Marine Fisheries Management Plan 2021 to 2026 is ongoing. The last engagement was held with civil society organizations and academia in October 2021. A new National Plan of Action, UMPWA, on IUU fishing 2021 to 2025, which is being implemented by the Fisheries Commission, was deposited with the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, of the United Nations on 5th May 2021. Actions taken by the Ministry as part of implementing the UMPWA includes observers placed on all industrial vessels during the expeditions. Closed season implemented for all fleets in 2021 was generally successful. Tuna fleets switched on the 1st of January to 1st of March 2021. Industrial trawls 1st July to 31st August 2021. Semi-industrial and artisanal 1st to 31st July 2021. Increased sensitization of fishers, both industrial and artisanal, on fisheries laws and regulations in coastal fishing communities. Fisheries Enforcement Unit, FEU, has intensified sea inspections and beach camping operations to monitor compliance to fisheries laws and regulations. Arrest and seizure of illegal equipment used in fishing activities, e.g. Ada, Mori, Abanzi, Dego, Solpon, Commander, Abuesi, and Shama. The supply of premise fuel to the communities were suspended for a period as a deterrent measures. In the industrial subsector, the license conditions have been reviewed to ensure that the vessels with infractions and fine pay up before licenses are renewed. Cabinet approval granted for the purchase of patrol boats and a research vessel to strengthen visibility at sea and data collection management for decision-making and planning purposes. Issues with the vessel monitoring system and the automatic identification system have been rectified and are now operational, and vessels' activities are strictly monitored for compliance. Fisheries Commission's Catch Certification Unit receives regular training from the EU. A training on compliance with EU catch certification processes was organized from 7th to 8th of June 2021. The Ministry has increased collaboration with the support to the Ghana Navy and the Marine Police, the security agencies involved in the Fisheries Enforcement Unit, to monitor and arrest fisheries offenders for prosecution. The report on actions taken by the Ministry was submitted to the EU Dialogue Team on the 11th of November 2021. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister. Honorable Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, I would like to know from you, with the implementation of these measures in checking illegal, unregulated fishing activities, what do you foresee as the likely challenges that your ministry will face, since most of the canoes that are involved in these are artisanal fishermen using these forms of fishing. What challenges do you foresee?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the challenges are many, as you rightly mentioned. But we know that when we start with the enforcement, they will comply because they also need to work for their daily bread. And for that matter, they will be ready to comply, despite the challenges that we'll be encountering. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, would the minister agree with me that, considering the nature of the challenges, there will be the need for an all-inclusive sensitization program to be in place for a successful implementation of this? And I mean even including members of parliament in such sensitization.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we include all stakeholders. And even in my answers, I mentioned that sensitization will be done. So we include members of parliament. I'm assuring the House that we will include the members of parliament, especially the select committee, in all these discussions and sensitizations. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I have nothing more useful to ask. I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Member for why is there you?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Why are you fishing in any water body in Wa East?
Yes, yes. And
Very well.
the Honorable Minister is very aggressive in supporting fish farming in Wa East. I have to commend her. Mr. Speaker, I just have a quick follow-up. I noticed that the ministry is implementing a number of initiatives to reverse the EU warning, yellow card warning. But at the same time, fisher folk in these areas are complaining that their livelihoods are being lost. What is the balance that the minister has to strike? Because the livelihoods of our people are being affected, and at the same time, we are struggling to meet EU requirements. What specific balance are you trying to achieve with this? Satisfy EU or your countrymen?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm serving my country at the same time serving EU because we are all stakeholders. But definitely, you should expect someone who is doing illegal or illegality. If you ask the person to stop the illegality, that is what the person does to get more fish. Like, for instance, using lights to aggregate fish and then catch them with maybe chemicals. When you ask the person to stop, when he goes without the light, definitely he will not get the quantity. So you should expect all these complaints. But as I promised the House that we're going to collaborate with Parliament so that we'll see the way forward, what we can do to support our fisher folks. We are in to support them, not to make their life harder. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member for Ododio.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. And let me say that this is very important for us, the MPs on the coastal line. Let me commend my sister, who is looking fairer than normal. You are not hearing me? Because you are looking more fair than you used to be. She's looking more beautiful.
Can I ask you a question, please?
Who's hatchet man or somebody?
Right Honourable Speaker, as a follow-up to the question.
It's a compliment. Sit down. It's a compliment. It's a compliment. At least he didn't say hatchet woman. Like you did say hatchet man to somebody. Are you jealous?
Right Honourable Speaker.
It's a compliment.
Right Honourable Speaker, this issue of enforcement of regulations pertaining to the use of illegal methods of fishing has been a problem. The issue has to do with our own enforcement of our regulations pertaining to fishing. Just like any other law in this country or any other regulation, people would always look for ways and means to subvert the system for their own selfish interest. But it is how we enforce our regulations that will make the people comply. So compliance is as a result of enforcement. We can't continue to have the regulations on paper without enforcing them. Because the problem we are having with our fishing industry, no, it's not a question. Let me express this first. It's important to me. She just said...
Honourable, sorry, I wanted to ask you, if you want to make a statement, kindly submit it. Then kindly ask your question, please. Kindly ask your question, please.
I want to know, what is the ministry doing to ensure that our regulation on the use of inappropriate methods of fishing are fully enforced to avert the situation whereby we will, as a country, be reprimanded by the International Committee and the conventions we've signed on to.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have now given more support than ever to the Fisheries Enforcement Unit. So in collaboration with the Enforcement Unit, I believe we can work on this. We've also provided gadgets along the coast for them to test fish with chemicals in them. In case any fish is being caught with a chemical, we're going to make sure that the person will be prosecuted. So now we have the gadgets along all with the fishers there. I just mentioned also that government has given approval for us to procure the research vessel and patrol boats. In fact, we can do the patrols on land, but on the sea becomes a problem. So now government has given us approval to buy 4 patrol boats so we can use to patrol on the sea and to deter all these illegalities. Also, we're giving them the approved nets. In fact, from next month going, I'll be going around to distribute these nets to the fishers, because sometimes their complaint is they are not able to afford the approved net. So the ministry is working out to get them a subsidized one as we give them the outboard motors and premise, so that they can meet the cost halfway, and this will also clean the system gradually. So these are some of the things the ministry is embarking on. Thank you.
I'll go to the lady before I come to you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, what can we as members of Parliament do to assist you, especially with regards to the chemicals that are used for fishing and the like? Honourable Minister, you know that no slack. In my language, we say lapifi or momoni. When we were children, this stinking fish used to attract flies, and you know that is a real thing. Now people carry Kobe and low slack, and not one fly wants to settle on it. It means that it's a problem that we are facing as a country. I want to know if you have any role for the members of parliament to assist you to address the situation, because our health is at stake. And it's good to hear that you want to go to the communities going forward. I would like to personally invite you to come to South so that we go around my beaches to see what you can do for my people. I thank you for your presence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, unfortunately, your question requires that you file that yourself. It does not flow out of the answer she gave.
No, she did. She mentioned that chemicals were being used. Honorable Minister, not so. You mentioned that chemicals were being used for fishing and the effects of that. So I just want to help her, ask her to use the opportunity to get MPs to assist her to address the issues. Mr. Speaker, I think that it's an answer to.
Honorable Minister, did you relate to chemicals? I didn't hear that. If you did, can you respond to her question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I've mentioned here, and I'll repeat that, in collaboration with colleague members of parliament, we all have to do this sensitization. So I'll be very glad if you come out with a program, comprehensive one from your area, then we can embark on this sensitization. And also FDA is also collaborating with us in working on this. It's a matter that is on my table. So we are considering that one to see if we can have the gadgets to work on all those things. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Give the last one to the Honorable Neil Nanteba. Okay, I'm giving one to Neil Nante. Now give it to Okuba Dapoy. All right.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from my good friend, the minister, that when should we expect the patrol boats? Because, Mr. Speaker, that is the core of the situation. You know, the fisher folks will tell you that we are always after them, the local fish folks. But we do not go after the international illegal Chinese, the Chinese. I don't want to mention them. It's true. You know, the Chinese, especially with
Those on the high seas.
with heavy equipment, trawlers, and they are catching our fish and they are going away with it. Then we go after the local fisher folk. So that is the biggest challenge that you have. And no amount of sensitization is going to get them to accept what we are trying to do until they see that we are also safeguarding their territories and their environment so that their business will do well. So how soon should we expect that? So I can tell them. I will join my brother to tell them.
Honorable Minister, hold on. Honorable Minister, can you hold on? Let me listen to the leader. Yes.
I heard my colleague, and the question is clear, but the concluding statement I think is unfortunate, and it should be expunged.
Honorable,
Speaker, he says that other nationals and mention a specific country's national. I think it's a wild allegation, especially where there are no evidence. So that should be expunged. You can, Speaker. I'm saying that for it to go into our records, it's unfortunate. That's my view. For it to, because you have no evidence to prove that.
Honorable members, I direct that it reflect foreign vessels and leave it there. Yes, Honorable Minister, kindly tell us when our patrol boats will come.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in collaboration with Ghana Navy, the Ghana Navy and the enforcement units are doing sea patrols. Just that it's not regular. So I want to assure you that we have started even with that. With the electronic monitoring system that we have in place now, any vessel that is on our waters unauthorized is able to be identified. And I just mentioned that even those vessels who are so much engaged in illegal activities, their infractions, we made sure that they paid the fines before they were giving their license just this last quarter. And I'm still going to make sure that by the end of this quarter, if we identify any vessel that has been engaged, the person will be fined and has to be paid before they go back for fishing. In fact, very soon, I know they will bring their complaints to members of parliament, because we're going to enforce the laws and we'll make sure that the right thing is done at the right time. And also about the patrol boats, it was in the budget, so procurement is yet to begin. And I believe by the end of next year, 2022, by the end of 2022, the research vessel and the patrol boats will be in the country. I have done some before by procuring 307 ambulances into the country. So the vessels will also come. Thank you.
Very well, honorable members. Honorable Minister, thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. You're discharged. Is there another question on fisheries? What's the number? 684. Okay, 683 and 684. Very well. Honorable member for Upper Denchira East.
And Mr. Speaker, 244 as well.
Mr. Speaker,
but I'm taking note after I've called Denchira. After that, I'll call 244, please.
683.
Yes, Upper Denchira East.
Upper Denchira East. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development what interventions will be put in place to secure Ghana's marine fish stock, which has seen rapid decline in the past decade. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the marine subsector accounts for the bulk of domestic fish production and fisher population in Ghana. Sustaining the subsector is therefore key to the fishery sector and the livelihoods of the over 186 fishing communities along the coast. Accordingly, the ministry has put in place measures to protect and sustain marine fisheries resources, including the implementation of the all-fleet closed season aimed at recovering of overexploited fish stocks and rebuilding the depleted fish stocks. Intensify fisheries law enforcement through at-sea and land patrols as well as inspections. Deployment of observer on board all industrial vessels. Installation of vessel monitoring system and automatic identification system electronically monitor the activities of the vessels at sea. The artisanal fishers, who constitute the majority of the marine fisher population, are also being provided with authorized fishing inputs such as approved fishing nets to address the purification of illegal fishing nets, which has been observed to be a major cause of illegal fishing in the artisanal subsector. The ministry has also reviewed the National Fisheries and Aquaculture policy developed in 2008 as part of the steps towards the revision of the existing Fisheries Act 2008. The revised policy has extensively outlined measures for management of marine fisheries, such as regular assessment of status of fish stocks, establishment of marine protected areas, and climate-smart fisheries. Plans are advanced to procure 4 patrol boats and a research vessel for the sector to enhance surveillance operation at sea and provide evidence for policy decision. Mr. Speaker, the fisheries sector has over the years been dominated by the marine subsector. The over-dependency on the subsector has greatly contributed to the over-exploitation of marine fisheries resources. To address the situation, the Ministry is promoting aquaculture development with the objective of growing the aquaculture subsector to increase its contribution to domestic fish production and reduce the over-dependency on marine resources. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very satisfied with the Minister's response. Thank you.
Then I'll go back to 242. Yeah, it's an honourable member for Tema East, Mr. Isaac Ashai Odampton. Is the honourable member in the chamber yet? Let's wait for her while I go to the others. We'll defer. All right, so 244, the honourable member for Salaga South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development whether the Ministry is aware of the general unavailability of premixed fuel to artisanal fisher folks in the Salaga South constituency, and if so, what are the Ministry's urgent plans to deal with the situation? Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry has not received...
Honourable Minister, kindly hold on. Honourable members, having regards to the state of the business of the House, I direct that the House sits outside the regular sitting hours. You may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry has not received reports of any shortage of premixed fuel at landing beaches within the Salaga South constituency. Reports indicate, in fact, that the supply of premixed fuel to the 5 landing beach communities at Salaga South, namely Makango Main, Makango Lower, Kejewu, Bato, Kafaba, and Matayoko have been regular, adequate, and without any major challenge so far this year. The same persists at various landing beaches across the country. Some reforms introduced have denied unauthorized persons from accessing the subsidized products and diverting for other activities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it's refreshing to hear from the Honourable Minister that there is no shortage of premix. But I want to find out from the Minister whether she's aware that the premix, which is subsidized by government and is supposed to be sold for 7 cedis 50 pesos per gallon, is being sold to the fisher folks at 20 cedis per gallon. And that is part of the basis of their complaints. Is the Minister aware of that situation? And what is the Ministry doing to make sure that the kalabule is eliminated from the premix business? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The ministry is aware some people at the landing beach want the pre-mixed fuel and sell them at a higher price. And so some measures are being taken, as I said. Some measures are being taken. And we're also planning to automate the sale of pre-mixed fuel. Some plans are on the way to automate the pre-mixed fuel. So when it's being automated, the fisher will go with a card. They are being issued with a card. With the card that they will use to draw their fuel. The subsidy will be put on the card and they will use it to draw their fuel. So plans are on the way to make sure that we automate the drawing of pre-mixed fuel. And we believe when this is being put in place, it will in fact eradicate completely all the unauthorized people who buy the fuel and sell them at a higher cost. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, Honorable, are you done? Very well. This was about Salaga, so how come I'm getting... Yes, from please.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Please, I would like to ask the Honorable Minister what measures she would like to put in place to minimize the politicization of the supply of pre-mixed fuel to the various landing beaches. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to the best, I don't know anything about that because constituting the landing beach committee is backed by a law. Constituting the landing beach committee members is backed by the law. So I don't know of any such at the landing committee. Thank you.
Sorry. On the same matter, very well. Honorable Cape Coast North, Cape Coast South.
On the same matter, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of replenishing the fish stock as a result to halt the recent decline, I want to find out from my honorable sister whether I know that we've had an annual closure of the sea. I want to find out whether there is any evidence that closing the sea annually actually improved the fish stock.
Honorable, which question were you following up on? Because the question he answered was in relation to pre-mixed fuels. Closing the sea has not been answered to now. You intended to ask a question earlier. You didn't get a chance, but you can't add it to this one, please.
Mr. Speaker, it's all a fisheries issue. So,
kindly ask your own fisheries question. Yes, and let me give the last one to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, in your response to an earlier question, you stated that plans are far advanced to procure 4 patrol boats and a research vessel for the sector.
Honorable, we've gone past that one. If you want a follow-up question, it should be in relation to pre-mixed fuel, please. Sorry, I'll proceed. The next question is in the name of the Honorable Member for Ablekuma North, Ms. Sheila Battels.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development what the ministry is doing to end the illegal practice of transshipment at sea, otherwise known as cycle. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has been leading the campaign to wage war against operators engaged in illegal fishing practices, including cycle, through collaboration and engagement with stakeholders for voluntary compliance. In addition, a new national plan of action to prevent, deter, and eliminate illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, IUU 2021 to 2025, is being implemented. Actions taken by the ministry as part of implementing the IMPOA include observers placed on all industrial vessels during fishing expedition, electronic monitoring of vessels at sea, intensified at-sea inspection and beach combing operations to strictly monitor compliance of fisheries laws and regulations, arrest and prosecution of offenders for infractions under the out-of-court settlement committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to find out from the Minister what the impact of these new legislation or policies on the operations of the fisheries, whether they are actually achieving the goal. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, the plan is to prevent, deter, and prosecute. And I believe it's helping the ministry to achieve its goal. Since the reopening of the sea for the industrial vessels in September, Mr. Speaker, there used to be a serious cycle operation on the sea. But since we brought in these measures, from September to date, we have not had any issue of cycle, and I believe it is helping us. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to commend the Minister of Fisheries for a great and excellent job done. Thank you.
Very well. You have had an opportunity already. Has Honorable Member for Tema East come back? Is he in the chamber now? Yes. Question number 242, you may ask your question now.
I rise to ask a question on behalf of the member for Tema East.
Other committee meeting, sorry.
So you are not a member of Tema East. That one, you should seek permission from me. I didn't realize, I thought you were Tema East. Very well, so who is Tema East? Can I see your face? Can you take off the mask so I can identify you? Very well. Very well, okay. You may ask your question now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development what economic impact mitigation measures are available for peasant and or artisanal fisherfolk for the 2021 close fishing season, which is imminent.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ministry during the implementation of the 2021 close season supported fishers across the 4 coastal regions, namely Greater Accra, Volta, Central, and Western regions, respectively, with some relief items, including 15,000 bags of rice and 6,250 cartons of cooking oil, outboard motors to these fisher folks. The ministry has also initiated the distribution of approved fishing nets to artisanal fisher folks in the Volta and Central regions, respectively. Other regions are yet to benefit from this intervention by government under the Fishing Input Support Scheme. Thank you.
Yes, if you have any follow-up questions, you may.
Mr. Speaker, it appears that the peasant fisher folks along the coast, especially Tema Harbour, which is hosting a lot of migrant fishermen, are not given the needed support prior and after the close season. Will the Honourable Minister assure this House that given the numbers in Tema Fishing Harbour before, during and after the close season, the fisher folks themselves would receive the support that the Minister mentioned?
Yes, Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister is asking that the things you share, the fisher folk, local people don't appear to receive them. Will you assure him that you ensure they get them? Am I right?
Mr. Speaker, I was so much involved in the distribution of the relief items, and especially Tema. I did the distribution myself. The whole of Greater Accra, I did the distribution, myself and my deputy. We did the distribution. But yes, we will still assure that come this year, we will provide more to support the fisher folks. Thank you.
No, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I am the MP for Tema East, and soon after the distributions, the complaints from the fisher folks to my office has been enormous and growing by the day. I will be surprised if indeed the fisher folks got the required quantities. I premised my supplementary question on the fact that we have a lot of migrant fishermen into the Tema Fishing Harbour, and that is what is creating the problem for the local fishermen in Tema. Either the allocation or proportionate allocations were not made, and so the people did not get what is due. But I take the assurance from the minister that going forward, she would ensure that the needful is done. My other supplementary question is, Mr. Speaker, the challenge of closed season in Tema is exacerbated by the fact that the port activities prevents the local fishermen from fishing around the port area. And so during close season, and even after, it appears the peasant fishermen are not able to fish around or within the 20 nautical miles of the port area. Has this come to the attention of the minister? Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have any idea about this. And as he's mentioned it, I will send the Fisheries Commission Executive Officer to do this inquiry and come back with a report. Thank you.
Yes, your last follow-up question, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess from the posting of the minister, she would want to consult for my other questions to be addressed. But if that doesn't happen, I'll come back. Thank you.
Are you asking a question relating to Tema? Because we have moved away from all the general ones. Now we are on specifics. Yes,
Thank you,
Honorable Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
The question I wanted to ask earlier is even more relevant with 242 than the previous question. What I wanted to know was that the annual closure of the sea, the idea was to be able to increase the fish stock, in terms of size and volume. I want to know whether there is any evidence that by doing so, the fish stock actually, becomes bigger in terms of volume and size, because I don't understand the science. Because the ocean or the sea is not a lake where you will keep the fish to get bigger. I mean, they move along the ocean, and it's a seasonal thing. So you could get fish bigger in Ghana, and then they will end up in Cote d'Ivoire.
Honorable member for Cape Coast South, nothing stops you from asking your own question.
Mr. Speaker,
but when you're doing a follow-up question, our rules are that there must emanate from the answer in respect of which the minister gave. Question 242 was in respect of the impact of aquaculture, that economic impact mitigation measures are available for peasant farmers during the close season. That was the answer at the question she answered. Your question must follow from this answer. Yours is probably somewhere else, and I suggest that you file your own question. Nee, you have given you one opportunity already, so I don't intend to give you another one. And this is at Tema. It is Tema, you are to do. 664. She has already answered that question. I'm afraid we've gone past there. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for attending upon the House to answer questions. You're discharged now. Minister for Youth and Sports will now take the seat. The first question is in the name of the Honourable Member for Tamale North, Mr. Suhuyini Al-Hassan Saibu. Yes, you may ask question number 152 now.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister of Youth and Sports how many AstroTurf pitches the Ministry has constructed or facilitated, at what cost, and at which locations. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to answer this question. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry, through the National Youth Authority, initiated the construction of 2 AstroTurfs, artificial football pitches, with auxiliary facilities at Tuba in the Botima English Amanfrom in the Greater Accra region, and in Mamponten in the Kwabri East in Ashanti region. The Ministry also collaborated with the following institutions to construct AstroTurfs
in some part of the country. A, the Middle Belt Development Authority. B, the Zongo Development Fund. C, the Ghana National Gas Company. D, the Coastal Development Authority. E, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. The major objectives were to improve youth development through sports and entrepreneurship training to encourage the youth to contribute to the national development. Mr. Speaker, I've provided a detailed answer to the question on page 36 of today's order paper, page 37, page 38, page 39, page 40, page 41, page 42, page 43, up to page 44, excluding the answer to question number 166. So I will request the Hansard Department to capture the entire answer and wait for supplementary question. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I wish to commend the Minister for taking his time to give a comprehensive list of projects, in some cases including the cost of those projects. Mr. Speaker, my follow-up question relates to the distribution of these TEFs, however. Having gone through the answer provided, Mr. Speaker, you will notice that there is no AstroTEF in Northern Region, there is no AstroTEF in Volta Region, and there is no provision for an AstroTEF in the Upper West Region. Mr. Speaker, out of about 89 AstroTEFs, the Ashanti and Eastern regions alone have benefited more than 30 of those AstroTEFs. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Minister if this is a fair distribution of such a facility championed by state agencies and by the ministry, and what went into the determination of such a skewed distribution of these AstroTEFs.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my answer is very clear, and I've mentioned that we collaborated with the other institutions like the Middle Belt Development Authority and the Coastal Development Authority, and we also have the Northern Development Authority. Mr. Speaker, most of this funding are coming from the $1 million, one constituency allocation. And mostly the members of parliament have to collaborate with the local district assembly in determining what they want to use those facilities for. So in this case, most of the projects, especially in the Middle Belt Authority, these are the MPs work very closely with the DCEs to determine the projects that they want to do. And I believe that every constituency was given its share of the $1 million constituencies. And so I'll urge that going forward, you collaborate very well with your local assemblies in determining the projects that you want to execute, because there are projects currently ongoing under that initiatives in Tamale North constituency. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not entirely satisfied with the answer provided in relation to how skewed the distribution is. But as the Minister has invited, perhaps we'll do some follow-ups later. But my next question, Mr. Speaker, relates to the costs of these projects. Mr. Speaker, there seem to be very worrying disparities as far as the costs is concerned. You will notice that whereas some institutions are constructing these AstroTEFs at a maximum of 1.5
million Ghana cedis. Some of the institutions are constructing almost similar for 3.2 and 1.9 in some cases, million Ghana cedis. The Speaker, for example, on pages 35, yes, you would have noticed that the Savannah region, Salaga, conversion of Green Park to AstroTurf at Salaga cost 1.9 million Ghana cedis. Then you look at Eastern region, Birim Central, Akimoda, conversion of Green Park to AstroTurf at Akimoda, and it is 1.7 compared to 1.9 in the case of Salga and in the case of Yeji. The Speaker, it is even worse when you look at Okai Kwesa, Fadama, construction of artificial turf football parks at Fadama, and it is 3.2 million Ghana cedis. The Speaker, I can go on and on, where similar are than in other areas for 1.8 million Ghana cedis. Can the Minister explain to us what accounts for this price, very, very serious price disparities as far as the projects are concerned, when the descriptions are almost the same and the facilities as indicated by the answers are the same, yet the prices are dissimilar?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the description might be the same, but the scope of work might differ. In most cases, like you have mentioned, for example, the one at English here, Amanfro, even though it's an AstroTurf, you have 1,000-seater capacity there. The one at Fadama, for example, because major social events are used there is also seats provisions provided. And Mr. Speaker, in some of the projects, you have inner parameters fencing and outer parameter fencing. So the scopes differ from project to project, and that is why the cost also differs in execution. Thank you.
Yes, your last follow-up question, please.
Mr. Speaker, if you go through the answers, it is not entirely correct that the scope differ. And maybe I'll just go through a few. Construction of one artificial turf at Apenkwa, the scope is the same, and yet the figure is about 1.3 million. And then when you look at construction of AstroTurf at Kansawuradu, it's the same again, but the cost is 1.6 and the scope is the same. But Mr. Speaker, my last question is related to the safety of these AstroTurfs. Mr. Speaker, I would like to find out what assessment the ministry has done in relation to how best AstroTurfs can promote soccer, because in most cases there are soccer pitches in this country, given the publicized research that shows that these AstroTurfs are fading out in developed countries. Indeed, our own soccer star, Sami Kufuor, recently bemoaned the springing up of these AstroTurfs and indicated how these AstroTurfs are being put aside in Europe and Germany, and was worried of how it can affect the development of soccer. So I want to find out from the minister what assessment was done as far as the impact of these AstroTurfs on the growth of soccer is concerned before the promotion of sale across the country, the construction across the country.
Yes, Honorable. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there was a very detailed assessment across the country of our sports facilities and the need for us to have sports facilities at the basic level, especially at the district level, to be able to provide the needed sports infrastructure to develop the talent that God has given to this country. Mr. Speaker, yes, my brother is right that the AstroTurf as compared to the natural grass, preferably the natural grass will be more preferable. But the conditions, especially the weather conditions and the maintenance cost involved in maintaining this natural grass is very, very severe. Because once there's a heavy usage in this natural grass, the cost and maintaining the natural grass becomes even more expensive as compared to the AstroTurf. So that is why government took a decision that once you get a quality AstroTurf, the lifespan can even go beyond 10 to 15 years. And that is why we took a decision to ensure that we get the needed sports infrastructure through the artificial AstroTurfs for the country. Thank you so much. Yes, Honorable. Whips, I thought you would have the last word. You wait and do the last word for the leadership. Yes. I'm looking at those who haven't asked the question today. Yeah, the lady in the middle.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to draw the Minister's attention to table 4.4. Number 2, construction of one number artificial AstroTurf at Apenkwa. When you go to number 22, we have the same thing there, construction of one number AstroTurf at Apenkwa at the same cost. I want to find out from the Minister if there are 2 projects in Apenkwa. Number 22, table 4.4. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister. You appear to have done a double counting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's only one AstroTurf at Apenkwa. It's only one, it's not 2. Thank you. I wanted to give to, yes, Bolly Bamboy, yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Minister whether they have put in place any mechanism to ensure that they are able to maintain these facilities. Because going around and seeing some of them, they have already started deteriorating. What have you put in place to ensure that they are able to maintain them? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have directed the National Sports Authority to have a maintenance manual for all these facilities so that it doesn't take you to just decide when and how to maintain it. So there is a maintenance manual that is prepared for all these facilities, AstroTurfs, and even our sports stadia, so that you know as and when to do what at the various facilities. So there is a maintenance manual that has been prepared for all the facilities. Thank you. Ranking for sports, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Coming from the answer given and relating to the source of funding being $1.21 million, will you look at table 30 on page 37, the table on page 37? You will notice that you have in Shawam alone having 1, 2, 3 AstroTurfs. Now, the question is this. Are you alluding to the fact that, per your statement you made, they got funding from wherever, any of the development authorities, to construct 3 for Insawam alone, even for Insawam alone, out of their allocation of $1 million per constituency. Is that what you are trying to say?
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes, the $1 million per constituency is a yearly allocation that is given to every constituency, and every constituency, and the member of parliament for Insawam Adwadri prioritize sports infrastructure against other infrastructure in his constituency. So, yes, he wrote, even now, he has, Mr. Speaker, he has written 2 letters already on my desk requesting for me to visit Insawam to even bring sports academy, because he has started engaging. So I will urge members of parliament to also do same, so that we will be able to work together and promote sports. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to know from the minister, who is monitoring this project, the progress?
Honorable Member for German, can you turn off your phone? It is. Yes.
Thank you,
turn it
Mr.
off and
Speaker.
continue.
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the minister, how is the progress of these projects being monitored? I have one of these projects in my constituency, specifically in my hometown, Farmine. If you look at the table 4, that is number 19, and the price is 1.425 million Ghana cedis. Page 36. Page 38. Mr. Speaker, this project has been left at the mercy of the weather for almost a year now. You have the carpets, the goalposts, and all things just lying there. I wonder if there's anybody monitoring the progress of these projects. Can the minister tell me? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the said project is funded by the Middle Belt Development Authority, and he said on page 38, and the authority will monitor the progress of work, then the ministry will assist in commission and take over the facility to manage after completion, after construction. So in terms of construction, is the authority that is responsible of the progress of work. But once it's finished, the ministry will take over to ensure that we maintain it for the good people of your constituency. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Telabi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the minister's answer, there's a table 4.0. The Middle Belt Development Authority. The authority has undertaken the underlisted construction of AstroTurf. And number 6 is still reading Lower Manyo Krobo, precisely Odumasi Krobo, my hometown. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the minister, is it that they are now going to construct, or it has been constructed? Because there's nothing there. And there's a cost attached. It is Odumasi where I come from. And there's nothing to that effect. Can you clarify? Yes, is it not going to be constructed? Or it has been constructed? Sorry? Oh no, go. Tell us.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I said, as members of parliament, we have a responsibility of ensuring that we work very closely with the local assembly and the authorities that we have established. And this project falls under the Model Belt Development Authority. As a member of parliament for Mayor Kobo, you know about this project. You know about this project that the contract has been awarded, contractor has mobilized, and he's currently on site. You know about it.
There is nothing. There is nothing there. There is nothing.
Honorable Dela Kofi, after that
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I want to find out from the minister. I was quite surprised not to find Pando on his list of astroturfs, because to the best of my knowledge, GMPC has assured the people of Pando that they are going to do an astroturf there. That's one. And then, Mr. Speaker, he said letters on his table. The chiefs of Pando have written him a letter more than 4 months now, just asking him that they want to reconstruct the wall around the sports stadium. We still haven't gotten a reply. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister, why haven't you responded to Pando?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll cross-check with the ministry and ensure that we respond to your letter. Thank you.
Last one will go to Solar Tuna Kalba before I come here.
I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the minister indicates that an astroturf has been constructed in the Solar Tuna Kalba district. Mr. Speaker, Solar Tuna Kalba has not benefited from this project. Mr. Speaker, he says MPs should have some collaboration with the ministry and the authority. That's why if the authority decides to do a project without notifying a member of parliament, how will that person know and collaborate?
No, it's MP's money.
And the minister claims it's MP's money.
It's not an argument time. Ask your question, please.
Yes, my question is, Solar Tuna Kalba has not benefited from any project, and he has quoted 1.8 million Ghana cedis as the amount spent on a project in Solar Tuna Kalba. So,
he says Solar Tuna Kalba has not benefited, so how come their name is on the list?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll cross-check the district, but the community where the AstroTurf is Larbanga, and it's being funded by the Zongo Development Fund. The Zongo Development Fund. So I'll cross-check. I'm not sure whether Larbanga is in Solar Tuna Kalba. I have to cross-check.
Yes, Honorable Chief Whip.
Speaker, I just made an interesting observation, and I thought I should bring it to the attention of the minister. I realized that he itemized a number of AstroTurf projects, and Speaker, if you look at it carefully, all of them were sponsored by agencies and the ministry different from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Now, I wish to find out from the minister, why is he holding himself responsible for these projects, especially when they were funded by agencies different from his ministry?
Honorable, he said they are collaborating with those agencies, so I think it's as a result of this collaboration. Very well, I'll move on to the next question for the minister. It's in the name of Mr. Kofi Akunoko Evalue Ajomrojra. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the former Minister for Youth and Sport wanted to ask a question. So if you can allow him to just ask the question. To clarify...
I beg you, I've given more than 15 people the opportunity here. You can't have all of them.
I appreciate that.
And I saw that he came in recently, so for his punishment, he should wait.
So that's his punishment, right, Mr. Speaker?
I'm not talking about Nilante.
No, I'm talking about Nilante.
Oh, yes, I was talking about. I thought you were talking about Nilante. But Nilante has had two opportunities. So that's why I jumped him. And Fisheries, yes. That's why I jumped him. If he has asked other questions.
Yeah, on youth and
please,
sports.
there are about 6 more questions for youth and sports.
Well, we are doing only questions today, so yeah, we have agreed to do only questions.
You, as a leader, you give your opportunity to very well. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. I agree perfectly that this is in collaboration with other agencies. I want to ask the question. First question is that I've noted on page 43.
You combine them, do L.
Page 43. Right, Honorable Speaker, item 13 on table 4.3. I've seen Bodviase, a Futu municipal district. I don't know whether Ghana's map has been changed. Because Bodviase is not in the Futu municipal. Also, with Buko, my own place, I want to find out why under the Coastal Development Authority, all these astroturfs that are being constructed, unlike the other tables we have seen, have cost and the contractors attached to it. But this one, under the Coastal Development Authority, there is no cost and the contractors are also missing.
Yes, Honourable Minister, why is the Coastal Development Authority not providing cost and name of construction company?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Bodviase one, I have to cross-check. It might be a typo that we have to correct. But on the, like I said, most of these sports facilities, astroturfs, the ministry is working in collaboration with other agencies. So the answers provided by those agencies implemented, those constructing, is what I've provided. So if you need further and better particulars on that particular project, I'll liaise with the authority, the Coastal Development Authority, and get you that information. Thank you.
Very well. I think I can now move on to the next question in the Sports Ministry. It's by the Honourable Member for Evaluate Ajomoro.
Thank you, right, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. The name is Kofi Akunoku, and the constituency is Evaluate Ajomoro. Right, Honourable Speaker, I wish to ask the Minister for Youth and Sports when the Axim Sports Complex will be completed. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Youth Resource Center at Azim in the Western region is 90% complete, the first phase, and the ministry is awaiting funds to complete the project by the end of the year. The purpose for this center is to equip the youth in the constituency with appropriate skills to contribute their quota to the development of this our great country. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, right, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity again. In the Minister's response, he indicated that the project is about 90% complete. Well, and he also said that the project was expected to be completed by the end of this year. Right, Honourable Speaker, today's date is 8 December 2021. So would the Minister be kind enough, in clear language, to tell us, the people of Evaluate Ajomoro, when this project, this crucial project, will be completed? Thank you very much.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has just mobilized. We have resourced the contractor, and the contractor will be going back to site to complete the project. So you can get assurance from me that we will complete the project for the good people of Azim, for the purpose of which the project was sent there. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I wish to thank the Minister for what he just said. And it is my prayer that he sticks to it. Mr. Speaker, I end by a humble appeal that this project is so crucial to the people of Axim. I've been at site several times, and I can say that there is visible spots of deforestation. So I wish to say that it is a humble appeal that you stick to your word and ensure that this project is completed and put to use. Thank you very much.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Ranking Member.
I just want to know whether the Minister is departing from the answer given that you gave end of this year. A follow-up question to you was like, oh, you are sure that you'll be completing it? We want specific answer as to whether you are altering what is written here.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in my answer, I said the ministry was waiting for funds to complete the project, and we just received the funds, and we have mobilized the contractors to go to site. So the contractor is there. Hopefully, the project, what I can assure this House is that the project will be completed and it will be put to use. Thank you.
But you didn't assure that it will be completed this year. The record must be clean.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for this year, I can't commit that by the end of this year because we've just given resources to the contractor. So what I can assure this House is that the project will be completed and put to good use. Thank you.
Very well. I'll move on to question number 246 by the Honourable Member for Prestia Huni Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask Minister for Youth and Sports when the construction of artificial turf at Aboso and Prestia will be completed.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Scott Stadium AstroTurf in Prestia is Ghana National Petroleum Corporation GNPC sponsored project, which was contracted to IT Waters. The project commenced on the 10th of May 2020, and the current state of the project stands at 15% on the ground preparation. The project will be completed subject to timely release of funds. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the next question, Aboso AstroTurf. The TT Park AstroTurf in Aboso is a coastal development authority sponsored project, which was contracted to AstroTurf Astro Ghana. The project commenced on the 19th May 2020. The current state of the project stands at 80% complete, with artificial turf fixed, floodlights installed, fencing completed. The project will be completed subject to release of funds. Thank you.
Yes, any follow-up questions?
I have no finished. Follow-up questions.
Yes, please. Honourable Member for Prestia Huni Valley, we have 3 more opportunities before anybody comes in.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, Mr. Speaker, my first question to the Minister. I want the Minister to explain to this House and also the good people of Prestia Huni Valley what has changed the narratives between 10th May and today. On 10th May 2020, when the sword cutting ceremony was performed, it was categorically stated that GNPC has provided full funding for the project and that the contractor was expected to complete the project within 6 months. Now, I'm just opposing that one to your answer. at the last point that the project will be completed subject to timely release of the fund. Where is the fully funded fund by GMPC? And why 6 months has landed in 20 months now?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my brother knows very well that from 20th May 2020, the whole world has not been the same. COVID pandemic have struck the entire world, and GMPC itself have to put his house together and reorganize itself. There was lockdown across the country, and the operations also suffered as a result of that. So I've engaged GMPC to see to it that this project is completed. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, from point 2 of Roman I, Minister is saying that 15% of the ground preparation has been completed. And in construction, ground preparation constitutes 20% of the whole project. So 15% of 20% means 3%. And 3% is insignificant. It's just like they've not started anything at all. So there's this letter from stakeholders, the Himalayan and Prestia Traditional Authority, sent to the Municipal Assembly that the stakeholders, we want to go the natural way. We want to grow our green grasses, and maybe after 6 months we can use the fund. I don't know whether you are privy to this information. If you are not privy to this information, sending the information to you that stakeholders, including myself, we want to go the natural way, grow our green grasses. And then after 6 months, we can use the fund, because the delay has denied the good people of Prestia the opportunity to develop their sporting skills and then talent. 3 teams qualified this year to second division.
Honorable,
But
can I ask a question, please?
yes, my question is, Minister, do you agree that we should go our natural way, or we should wait for the artificial turf?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware that the stakeholders have changed their mind, but they should write to the ministry and also copy the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GMPC, so that together we can sit and see the way forward. Because for now, the contract that was awarded to IT Waters is an AstroTurf. So there's a contract in place. So we have to sit together and see the way forward. But so that's my answer. So you have to write formally.
Mr. Speaker,
You are done. You have had 3 already. Yes.
Going through the regions that benefited from the AstroTurf, the OT region was not mentioned. I want to know, how did the selection of the regions?
Honorable, please, that's not a follow-up to this question. Now we do follow-ups. You may ask your own question of the minister at another occasion. Thank you. Yes, leader.
I just want the minister to clarify. According to the member, not that the people of Prestia have changed their mind not to have the AstroTurf. They're saying that because of the delay, can they go the natural way and grow the grass so that they can be using it until the contractor comes to site? That's why. So I want you to clarify that aspect. They haven't changed their mind.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll urge the Member of Parliament to engage the stakeholders there to write officially to me. Then we'll take a decision.
Very well. I'll proceed. Number 247 is the name of the Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker,
Yeah.
I've been authorized by the Chief Whip to ask a question on his behalf. With your kind permission, may I go ahead?
Please proceed.
Minister for Youth and Sports, I want to ask whether the ministry has any arrangement to build a sports center in the Isawam Adredri constituency.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has initiated one constituency, one AstroTurf policy in view to ensure that every constituency in the country has been provided with a modern pitch to develop the potential of our youth, and in Isawam Adredri constituency will not be left out. The ministry is seriously pursuing this agenda to promote decent sporting activities in the country and to unearth talent for international competition. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, no follow-up question, very well. Question number 353 is in the name of the Honorable Member for Adenta, Mohammed Adamu Ramadan. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Youth and Sports the urgent steps the ministry is taking to prevent any future flooding of the recently commissioned AstroTurf in Ajingano as the rainy season has begun. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Adenta Municipal Assembly has awarded contract to Masters Ray Madi Engineering and Consulting Limited for the construction of connecting roads and storm drains in and around the community of the facility.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Honorable Second Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Please continue with the answer if you are not done. You're done. Very well. Yes, follow-up question, please.
Yes, Honorable Member for Adenkan. You may go on.
Yes, Speaker, you're welcome. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Minister, I cross-checked from the Assembly. This answer indicates that the Assembly has awarded a contract to Rai Madi Engineering, but I confirmed from the Assembly is not aware of this. Assembly hasn't awarded any contract to this company. So if this contract has been awarded, then it's probably maybe by urban roads. But I can say on authority that nothing has been done with respect to the scope we're talking about, connecting roads and storm drains. Nothing has been done of that sort around that area. I don't know if you are aware of that.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I said in my answer, I said the contract has been awarded. The work actually is yet to be started. So I will urge my honourable member for Adenta to liaise with my ministry so that together we can see to it that the contractor, whether it is the municipal assembly or the sponsored company, because it was Ghana Gas that sponsored that facility, so that I will cross-check to see the exact agency that awarded the contract to them for them to do the drainage work there. So let's communicate and see to it that is done. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Adenta is lucky to have so far 2 AstroTurfs. One was awarded in 2019 by GMPC, and the other was awarded in 2020 by Ghana Gas. The Ghana Gas one has been completed. That's the one in Ajingano. But the one that was commenced in 2019, Mr. Speaker, I wish from table 4.4 It indicates the year, the constituency, and then the amount. I would have wished it would also indicate how far the job has gone, because for the one in Mamomo, what has been done so far is less than 20 or 30% of it. So, like the minister was saying, that Chief Whip had written a letter to him for him to come to his constituency. I also want to extend this invitation to the minister to come with me to the constituency so that we can see what has been done so far.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that this used to be the only park in the community where the young boys play football. They've taken over the park and nothing is happening there. So, Mr. Speaker, if the minister can please indulge so that he would come with me to go to the constituency and see what has been done so far.
So the question is to invite the minister to join you.
Yes, I'm inviting the minister, yes. And then my final... Yes, so if
Minister, so this is not a question. It's just throwing an invitation.
Yeah.
My final question, Mr. Speaker. Table 4.4. When you look at the breakdown, it suggests that GMPC has awarded 28 different astroturfs. But if you go through the list carefully, you would find that item numbered 1 to 8 has been repeated 21 to 28. So if we can strike that out so that it would capture correctly that GMPC has awarded 20 and not 28 astroturfs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So it doesn't demand. Yes. So we move to question number 396. That stands in the name of a member for Sisala West, Honorable Adam Mohammed Suparu. Honorable Member, the Minister is listening to you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I have a question on behalf of Honorable Adam Suparu. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Youth and Sports the status of the 10 Youth Resource Center projects in the country.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, work is at the various stages in the construction of the 10 youth resource centers across the country. The major objectives are to improve youth development through recreation, sports, entrepreneurship training, and to encourage the youth to acquire livelihood in order to make valuable contribution to the national development. The progress of work from the commencement to date of the 10 youth resource centers are discussed as follows. Mr. Speaker, A, Youth Resource Center, Ho Adaklu. The progress of work for the first phase is 80% complete. Youth Resource Center, B, Nyinanyini in Ashanti region. The first phase progress of work is 95% complete. C, Youth Resource Center, Dunkwao, Ofe in the Central region. Progress of work, 80% of the first phase is complete. D, Youth Resource Center, Upper East region, Navrongo. Progress of work, up to date, 78% complete. Youth Resource Center, region. Progress of work, to date, 90% complete. Youth Resource Center, Doma and Hinkro in the Buhafu region, the then Buhafu region. Progress of work, 98% of the first phase is complete. Youth Resource Center, Kofodia in the Eastern region. Progress of work, 94% complete. Youth Resource Center, Wa in the Upper West region. Progress of work, 90% complete. Youth Resource Center, Greater Accra region. North Kaneshi, progress of work, 90% complete. Youth Resource Center, Northern region, Yendi,
Progress of work, 70% complete. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, looking at these projects that the Minister has just mentioned, the timelines for completion, the percentages and all of that, and I'm aware these projects were awarded somewhere in 2018, and it appears none of them have been completed. What assurance can the Minister give to this House, and for that matter, the people of Upper West, when their youth resource center will be completed and the other ones? Just timelines. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the assurance I want to give to the Honourable Member is that currently, even this answer I gave, the current date, progress of work, the second phase have started in Upper West. As we speak, the fence wall is being constructed as we speak. The seat has been fixed, installed. The floor light has been purchased and also currently at Upper West. So you should be assured that you should be rest assured that this project will be completed on time to put to good use. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable
Mr. Speaker, I know the Minister is a young man who wants to develop sports development, or who wants to ensure that sports development is enhanced in the country. And these answers that he has given, I will hold him to these answers, and I know he will deliver. Thank you very much.
Well. Is it a constituency specific question? Yes, let me come to you, Honourable Wayomi. Yes. Yes, Honourable.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's because the answer has provided a broader, perspective to the question. That's why I just want to ask whether you made mention of first phase. The statistics you provided are the first phase of the project completed. Will you enlighten us on the scope of the first phase and then the subsequent phases, whether it's going to go through first and second phase to full completion, or first, second, third phases to full completion? So you should let us know.
Well, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the model design for the Youth Resource Center, the project is in two phases, the first phase and also the second phase. The first phase scope of work includes a football pitch, an 8-lane run-out track, Titan track, 3 spectator stand, that's for the first phase, a VVIP stand, a tennis court, a handball court, a gymnasium, counseling center, an ICT center, an entrepreneurship center, a restaurant, and also, depending upon the sites, some sites have hostel facility as part of the first phase. Some sites don't. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member for Medina.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to inquire from the Minister the sources of funding for the youth resources centers that have been listed in the answer. Thank you.
Minister, are you minded to answer the question? He's asking the source of funding.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the sponsored agency for the Youth Resource Center is the National Youth Authority, and we all know that the National Youth Authority gets an allocation from the District Assembly Common Fund. So part of it is used to fund this project. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Honourable Member for Kaliu.
Kaliu,
Kaliu, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to follow up with the question. Honorable Minister, there are various stages of completion, and it's refreshing to note that you are indicating that very soon the one in Wa will be completed. Can you tell whether these projects are on schedule per their original contract? Whether the projects are on schedule per the original contract of completion? If not, what has been the reason for the projects not being on schedule? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the project currently is not on schedule as per the contract signed, just because of the situation that we find ourselves globally, the COVID situation. It has affected mobilization of logistics and also to be able to complete the project. But we have engaged the consultant and the contractors to ensure that WA Youth Resource Centers is completed on time. And the contractor, as we speak, is on site.
Very well. Honourable members, we move to question number 397. And the question stands the name of a member for Ho Central, Honourable Benjamin Komla Pudu. Honourable, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm asking the Minister for Youth and Sports, when the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center, which includes the AstroTurf Sports Facility at Noveno near Ho, will be completed.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Youth Resource Center in the Volta region, the first phase is 80% completed, and the ministry is awaiting funds, the release of funds to complete the project on schedule. The objective of this project is to provide a center for the youth development and leveraging on sports to provide them with the skills to contribute their quota to the development of our country. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member, any further question?
Mr. Speaker, the Minister says the project is 80% complete. The response is too scanty for me to give me any information about the project. Because you say you have started a project with the following things as part of the scope: a FIFA standard football pitch, an 8-lane modern track, tennis, handball, and volleyball courts. And it's also supposed to have a gymnasium, a multipurpose ICT center, an entrepreneurship center, counseling unit, and a modern restaurant. And the Speaker, if you go there, you don't see anything in this area. And you say it's 80% complete. Mr. Speaker, I want to know whether you have varied the scope.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've not varied the scope. The scope for the first phase still stands. And I want to let my senior member of Parliament for the Ho Central knows that the project, as he has said, the FIFA standard football pitch is currently done, and you are aware. The 8-lane running track is also done, and you are aware. And the 3 spectator stand, we are even increasing it in the second phase, so you get 5 instead of 3. So the capacity is going to increase from the 5,000 that you know to maybe 8,000. We also have tennis court, which is done currently is done. We also have the handball court is done, the gymnasium is done,
The council session is also done, so that all these scope are captured and they are done. Even the seats, if you go to the facility now, the seats are being installed. And you are aware. President Akufo-Addo don't take the good people of Ho Central for granted. We are going to complete it.
Mr. Speaker. Yes, Honorable Podo. Mr. Speaker. Any further questions? I hope you are okay.
Mr. Speaker, I have gone there. I have gone there to the field. Some seats have been installed, but the grass area is now for cattle to graze on. Cattle is grazing on that field, and he's telling me that it's a football pitch, and there's an 8-lane distance. When last did you go there? And let me ask you, you are not even sure of this capacity. Is it 5,000 or 10,000? The capacity of the stadium there, is it 5,000 or 10,000?
Minister, he wants to know the capacity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the first phase, like I said, is 5,000. But the good news is that you are going to get a second phase. And the second phase scope will come with a fence wall to protect the spectators and the athletes who will be using the facility. And also, will increase the stand from the 3 stand to 5. So you are going to get an increase in capacity of the stadium when completed. Thank you. From 5,000 to 7,000.
Yes. Yes, Honorable Senior Member.
Mr. Speaker, he has confused me even more. He has confused me more. Because the reports, when the minister went to pay a visit to the place, was that they have increased it from 5,000 to 10,000, and the former price of $1.8 million had gone up to $2.4 million US. But he's telling me either 5,000 or 8,000 or 7,000. I don't know which is which. So my interest in completing the project. So I want to ask the minister why the contractor is no longer on site and when the project will be completed.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in my answer to the Member of Parliament, I indicated that the contractor will get back to site as soon as funds are released. So once we get a funding released to the contractor, we'll mobilize the contractor to go back on site. But I can assure you that this project is going to be completed and put to good use for the good people of Ho Central. Thank you.
I know I have exhausted my supplementary questions.
Now, Podo, you know you've already exhausted it.
But if you can...
Anyway, you are a senior member, so I'll allow you. Go on.
If he can give...
I'm just closely behind you.
If he can give an idea, because this project was awarded and it was to last for 9 months. Then it was extended and we are still extending it. Nothing is happening. So I need some better assurance that when funds are made available, because I believe that funds were available and that was why the project was commenced.
Yes, I know funds will be available when the budget is sorted out. Minister, come and tell him something. Minister, come and tell him something. Just assure him. Once the budget is sorted out, funds will be available for the project.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are waiting patiently to get the budget approved, appropriation approved. And once the budget is appropriated, my senior colleague should be rest assured that we'll come back and complete the project for you. Thank you.
Yes, let me invite my brother Bawa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker is my brother. That's I know that from what Honorable Podo said, the first phase seems to involve growing grass for cattle to chew, because that's the impression I got. That being said, I want to know from you as the sector minister, when was the last time you visited that project site? When was the last time you visited it? Because there's contradiction from what he is saying and what you seem to be, the picture you seem to be painting. When was the last time you visited that contract site?
Amen. You see, I just gave you that. The entire question was specific to Ho Central. And the member himself did not even ask the question, because probably he knows the minister.
No, not that, Mr. Speaker. The stadium is only located in Ho, but the stadium is a national asset. It is possible people from Bongo can go play football there.
Minister, may you respond to him?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Ho Central knows very well that I met him just when we were doing the retreat, the budget retreat that we had in Ho. We had a discussion on this project, and I visited the site just to ensure that I have the facts to be able to respond. We had a discussion on this project. Yes, I did. I visited a site when we went to the budget retreat. Alone.
Minister, you have answered the question. No. This is not.
He was a footballer. I thought he convinced you by saying that even though the stadium is in.
Go on with the question. Go on.
Mr. Speaker, he indicated that he visited the site alone. In his own statement, he had interactions and discussions with the MP in Ho. Now you had discussions with the MP in Ho, yet you chose to visit the site alone. A minister of state. He was.
So what was your question?
Well, I am scandalized that a minister of state having discussions with the
your person is tender.
You should give us proof.
Your person is tender.
Give us proof.
Honorable Wayumi.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. In fact, I was also going to ask the same question, but also to find out from you, I'm sure you would have noticed, if you actually visited the place, that even the entrance was not accessible. The entrance to the place, to the compound of where the project site was not accessible. So you couldn't even see exactly all the challenges or all the issues the Member of Parliament is talking about. So I think that, can you give a specific time? Because you've assured us, and Mr. Speaker's Committee on Government Assurances is actually taking record of all the things you are saying. So be mindful of that and tell us when you think the pool of Ho and the water region will have this completed.
Minister, hold on. Honorable Wayumi, the next question is yours. Take it as well. Question number 398. Honorable Wayumi, question number 398. Please ask your question. Honorable Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What did you see?
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Wayumi asked very relevant question. Please allow the minister. I know he has the answer to the question. To answer the question, then he can follow up with his own question. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure my senior Member of Parliament for South-Tong that once this budget is appropriated, there's no way this project will not be completed. The project will be completed once we get the funds. Thank you.
Very well. Now let me come to you. Honorable Wayumi, your question is 398. You may take the question now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Youth and Sports the intention for the acquisition of the land near Agbogbloshi. That is one leg. What is the land size and what plans the ministry has to immediately put the said land to its intended use, Mr. Speaker? Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, government is here to decide on what the land will be used for. Thank you so much.
Yes, any follow-up question, Honorable Yumi?
Mr. Speaker, this short answer, seriously, the question has three legs. It's standing on three legs. Actually, the first part of the question was requesting to know the intention for the acquisition, and then the land size, also the plans the ministry has for the place. However, the answer given doesn't reflect the question that I asked. Moving forward, few weeks ago, we saw in the news that there was there was this news item, August 21st, 2021. Agbogbloshi hosts 111 hospital. I just want to find out from you whether there has been any executive instrument varying the use from the president.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of any executive instrument to vary the use of the land. But what I know is that the lands, state land, are vested in His Excellency the President. So as at now, the one who has authority, overall authority to decide the use of the land was given to the National Youth Authority to use, and currently there is no any executive instrument to vary it, but government can decide to use it for any other project. Thank you.
Honorable, you are last supplementary question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I think the minister will agree with me that on such occasions we will not debate the issue because of the fact that yes, he's the president, but he has to do the right thing by issuing the EI to vary, because there was an EI that vested the place for specifically youth activities, sports, and all that. And so if it is varying it now, there must be that decision to do the appropriate thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's now jump to question number 399. So, follow-up question. Agbogbloshi. But do you live at Agbogbloshi? Anyway, Honorable Member for.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask the Honorable Minister, what is the size of the Agbogbloshi land?
The size. Very well. Honorable Minister. The land that you intend acquiring, what is the size?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. The land size is 60 acres, but I have to cross-check. To get to the exact size. But you know, they've encroached on it, and the decongesting that was done, we are yet to fence it and take the appropriate size now, because it has been encroached upon from the original size that we know. Thank you.
Very well. Let me now come to question number 399. That stands in the name of Honorable Member for Ashaman, Honorable Ernest Henry Nobe. Honorable Member,
Supposed to ask a question, you're there, President.
Kuru.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Youth and Sports when the Ashama constituency will benefit from the government's intervention of providing astroturf for communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Youth and Sports has initiated one constituency, one astroturf policy in view to ensure that every constituency in the country has been provided with a modern pitches to develop the potential of our youth, and our Ashama constituency will not be left out. The Ministry of Youth and Sports is seriously pursuing this agenda to promote decent sporting activities in the country and also to unearth talent for international competition. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Henry.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want the Minister to avert his mind to the question very well. Yes. I asked, when will Ashama benefit from the government's intervention? I didn't ask whether or not Ashama is part of the project, but the answer given there, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Henry,
is not answering my question.
Yes. Honorable Henry, he has answered your question together with the entire program the government has for all the constituencies.
Okay. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Now, I asked the Minister, when will Ashama also benefit from the agenda of the government? When will it be implemented? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ashaman constituency will get their share of the AstroTurf under the one constituency, one AstroTurf initiative when the budget is approved and appropriated.
Which budget? Budget. Mr. Speaker, thank you. I don't know whether the minister is referring to the 2022 budget,
which was rejected.
But this agenda for the government to provide AstroTurf for communities have been in existence for almost 5 years now. And you are now talking of when the budget is approved. And I have not seen anything even in the budget, 2022 budget, to that effect. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware Ashama produced very notable players like Thomas Partey, Abu Idrisu, Audu Isaka, Dan Kwe, Kofi Nimo, and others. And as we speak now, we don't have a single AstroTurf in Ashama. Mr. Speaker, I want the minister to assure the people of Ashama that they will benefit from the AstroTurf. In fact, immediately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Henry, the minister has already assured you.
Mr. Speaker,
the minister has already assured you. You wait. Probably after next week, when the appropriation bill is passed, you see that Ashama will benefit.
Mr. Speaker, that's why I'm saying that there's no provision in the budget as such. And so, if the minister is giving me assurance on this particular budget, I'm a bit confused about it because there's nothing in the budget to that effect. So, I just want the minister to assure the people of Ashama.
Yeah, minister, tell you something.
When? It will happen within the shortest possible time. Or when exactly will it happen? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure my colleague, Member of Parliament for the good people of Ashama, that in considering this budget, the Ministry of Youth and Sports have goods and services and capers, and the committee, your committee, responsible for youth and sports, will be sitting on Friday. So I'm inviting you to come and see. On the capers column, there's a huge amount allocated to ensure that this policy of one constituency, one ASRUTEF come to fruition. And the good people of Ashama will not be left out when the budget is appropriated. Thank you.
Honorable members, please. I may give the leader the opportunity. This is specific question to Ashama. I'm not going to admit any no. Please indulge me, please. This is Ashama specific. This is a leader. I'm giving the opportunity to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, everybody lives in Ashama. Ashama, if you go there, the whole world lives in Ashama. So we all live in Ashama. But that is just by the way. Mr. Speaker, the minister, in all the answers he's providing, is linking the projects to the approval of the budget. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind the minister that this is a house of records. You'll be taking on if the budget is approved and the projects are not done. So, Mr. Speaker, take note. We'll hold you to the assurances you are giving that once the budget is approved, all these projects will be done. It's just 12 months. 12 months. Let me remind you.
Very well, then all of us can be assured that next week we'll get rid of the appropriation bill, and the Minister for Youth and Sports will. So, leader, can you give indication if Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports, on behalf of the House, let me thank you very much for attending upon the House to answer questions from members. We are so grateful, and you are hereby discharged.
Lawyer. Mr. Speaker, I think a lot has been done, and we are in your hands for adjournment, except to add that my honorable colleague from Ashama, Audu Isaka, is not from Ashama. He was born in Sunwani, and he played in Tema FC, so he's not from there. So we are in your hands for adjournment.
Honorable members, let's turn to item number 6 on today's paper, which is statement. We have a couple of statements that has been admitted. Statements, please. Let's take one of the statements or two. Please, it has been admitted. So the statement stands in the name of a member for Busa South, Honorable Dr. Prince, Honorable Clementa Park. It also stands in the name of a member for Kankwe South, Honorable Dakwa Newman. It also stands in the name of a member for Kwesimintin, Honorable Dr. Prince Hamid Ama, and at the same time it stands in the name of a member for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo. And the statement, which is a joint one, it is on International Day for Persons with Disabilities. So I invite one of them, Honorable Dr. Apak, to read the statement.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, given that we are 4 members of Parliament who are joined to this statement, I wanted to seek your direction, whether perhaps I could read half of it and then let my colleague on the other side also read half of it. I'm seeking your direction. It's a joint statement. Very well. Thank you. Joint statement on the International Day for Persons with Disabilities. Mr. Speaker, we are most grateful for the privilege given us to make this statement. Mr. Speaker, today of December 2021 commemorates International Day of Persons with Disability, and the theme for this year's campaign is, quote, leadership and participation of persons with disability towards an inclusive, accessible, and sustainable post-COVID world, unquote. We stand here on behalf of both caucuses of the House to make the following joint statement as we join the world to mark the day to promote the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities, and as much as possible, highlight the successes and adequacies in our efforts as a nation to shaping an inclusive future for all. Mr. Speaker, disability is part of human experiences and a proximal antecedent of accidents. It is important that we understand accident as any natural or unnatural happenings that cause a malfunction to our abilities as humans. Consistent with this understanding, the World Health Organization and the World Bank, in a study in 2011, suggest that at one point or another, almost every person is exposed to and may experience temporary or permanent disability. Here in Ghana, approximately 4 out of every 10 persons have some form of disability condition, according to the Ghana Disabilities Data Disaggregation Pilot Project in 2018. A study conducted by the Ghana Federation of Disability in 6 regions in Ghana further indicates that 25% of persons with disabilities were born with the condition, while 75% acquired their disabilities on earth. The plethora of evidence appear to amplify the pervasiveness of disability conditions in our society. Mr. Speaker, disability evokes different social constructions depending on the setting in which the concept is used. Ghana has several legal provisions that are meant to protect socially disadvantaged people, including persons with disability, whose rights and freedoms to overall equity and non-discrimination at any level are well guaranteed. Within the context of these provisions, we have as a nation formulated and pursued several policy interventions to minimize the challenges facing persons with disability. Mr. Speaker, Article 29 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana clearly espouses the right of persons with disability. Several other national laws, including the Children's Act 1998, Act 560, the National Health Insurance Act 2012, Act 852, and the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, Pre-Tertiary Education Act, Act 1046, among others, equally seek to protect the rights of persons with disability in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, in 2006, the Parliament of Ghana passed the Persons with Disabilities Act, Act 715, which appeared to be a preeminent disability-specific legislation in all of Africa. The Act seeks to protect the rights of persons with disabilities and promote their effective participation in society at all levels. Among other things, Act 715 provides for rights such as unrestricted access to public places and buildings, free healthcare, employment, education, and transportation. The law allowed for a 10-year moratorium within which all public buildings were expected to be made accessible for all, including persons with disability. Unfortunately, the Ghana Accessibility Standards for the Built Environment, developed by the Ghana Standards Authority with input from the disability community, has been rendered a mere rhetoric. Mr. Speaker, Ghana ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, an international human rights treaty of the United Nations intended to protect and promote the rights and dignity of all persons with disabilities, which came after Act 715. Article 4B of the Convention obliges Ghana as a state party to take all appropriate measures, including legislation, to modify or abolish existing laws, regulations, customs, and practices that constitute discrimination against persons with disabilities, and in order that they are in conformity with the present convention. As a signatory to the Vienna Convention of the Law of Treaties, 1969, we as a country cannot derogate what we have ratified. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, in partnership with Law and Development Associates, in 2013 conducted a gap analysis whose report indicates that the Disability Act needs serious amendment due to the critical gaps which poses significant challenges to persons with disabilities. At present, the rights of all persons with disabilities are not fully recognized and actively protected. As long as the Act remains in its present state, Mr. Speaker, persons with disabilities, especially women and girls, as well as the aged, will continue to suffer many forms of hardship in their social lives, and what ought to be considered as a matter of protecting the social rights of persons with disabilities will be seen as a social welfare provision. Mr. Speaker, the African Disability Protocol ensures that no one is truly left behind. It is unique to the continent and makes African practices and concerns takes African practices and concerns into consideration so that the lives of people with disabilities are improved. It addresses the ingrained issues of disability discrimination to ensure everyone can access health, education, employment without stigma or barriers. The ratification of the African Disability Protocol by government would not only address the contextual issues of harmful practices affecting persons with disability, but also would foster the inclusive development agenda, which underscores the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Ghana is highly regarded as a practitioner, as a pace-setter among the Committee of African Countries, for which reason many AU member states would potentially be encouraged to do same once Ghana ratifies the protocol, in order to achieve the 15 ratifications needed for the protocol to come into effect. Mr. Speaker, the Inclusive Education Policy of 2015 is anchored on the 1992 Constitution, the National Development Agenda, Ghana's Education Strategic Plan 2018 to 2030, and other international imperatives with a view to creating the enabling environment for addressing the diverse educational needs of Ghanaians, including persons with disability. The policy has been reviewed, but appears to be facing limited implementation fidelity and requires significant intervention for effective implementation. Mr. Speaker, during the Global Disability Summit in 2018, Ghana sought Ghana, through the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, made 8 commitments aimed at removing specific barriers that work against the inclusion of persons with disability in all levels of development. The 8 commitments are as follows: to eliminate stigma and discrimination against persons with disability, to promote inclusive education, to ensure routes to economic empowerment of persons with disability, to harness technology and innovation to better the lives of persons with disability, to build disaggregated data on persons with disability to inform policy formulation and implementation, to make adequate provision for women and girls with disabilities on account of the double discrimination, and mainstream disability into conflict and humanitarian responses and ensure accessibility for persons with disability. Mr. Speaker, government has attempted to facilitate the achievement of these commitments by providing over 20,000 wheelchairs to Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, providing students with disability in selected tertiary institutions with assistive technology-enabled devices, and training institutions to promote their digital inclusion, distributing 240 fit-for-purpose gender and disability-friendly school sanitation facilities to 23,870 school pupils of low-income communities in the Greater Accra metropolitan area through the Greater Accra Metropolitan Assembly Sanitation and Water Project, in addition to several ongoing interventions to improve their livelihood and well-being. Mr. Speaker, despite the foregoing successes, there is an urgent need for the National Council on Persons with Disability to be well-resourced and decentralized to perform its function well to ensure proper mainstreaming of disability issues in all sectors at all levels. Section 41 of Ghana's Persons with Disabilities Act, Act 715, established the National Council on Persons with Disability as a state agency responsible for all disability-related issues. The objective of the Council is to propose and evolve policies and strategies to enable persons with disability enter and participate in the mainstream of national development processes at all levels. The Council is expected to monitor and evaluate disability policies and programs, formulate strategies for broad-based intersectorial, interdisciplinary involvement and participation in the implementation of the national disability policy, as well as play an advocacy role on disability issues at all levels. Since the establishment of the Council in 2009, it is yet to have an office beyond the national capital, and it is inadequately resourced. Mr. Speaker, it is important to bring to this august House the barriers that are impeding the full inclusion and effective participation of persons with disability, which are on the rise and are limiting persons with disabilities of their full potential and access to society. We are optimistic that drawing the attention of this House will start a nationwide dialogue, not just on policy implementation, but how, as Ghanaians, we can be more sensitive, more accommodating, and more conscious of persons with disability, and fully include them in the development of our dear nation, Ghana. We thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the gracious indulgence. It is our hope that you will refer this statement to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, as well as the appropriate parliamentary committee for further action. Most grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Member for Okankwi South.
Mr. Speaker, please, the honourable member has already taken the statement, so there's no need.
So you don't have, I thought you were part of that. Yes, let me come to Honorable Member for Trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement. Mr. Speaker, today the whole world is about inclusiveness. The target is that we are not to leave anybody behind. Inclusiveness indicating that we are not to leave anybody behind. Mr. Speaker, if there's other group of people who are supposed to lead this journey of not leaving anybody behind, then it is the physically challenged. Because it is so easier to leave them behind. And especially the way we've conducted ourselves as history indicates. Very easy to leave them behind. Even it is even purported that at where they were giving birth to, parents easily get rid of them and leave them behind and disregard them, and the stigmatization continues. Mr. Speaker, therefore there's the need for inclusive education. And inclusive education easily can be identified with the physically challenged. Where the other group of people that are physically challenged, but it seems to be intangible, you can't see it. Mr. Speaker, and it is the slow learner, the less average student. The less average student or the slow learner is physically challenged. And it is the reason why we need a smaller number of class size, empower teachers to get very closer to the slow learner. And you know, the slow learner is slow by sure. And therefore, when he's able to get what he's supposed to grip on, he gets gripped on that one, and as slow as he is, become very sure. And therefore, that is one critical area that we have to look at, the slow learner. And that is why in the policy of this government, the government decided that the class A student must at all costs enroll 30% of the students from the rural areas. That is where you do see the slow learners. And when they come to the Achimotes and the Presex, you see those students outperforming those who had education at our cities and with the international school that we so call. Mr. Speaker, therefore, there's supposed to be a deliberate policy to ensure that we are not leaving anybody behind. And it is very, very important. The physically challenged, Mr. Speaker, our attitude towards them is that bad. Mr. Speaker, recently I had a very peculiar experience at the airport. And when we compare the way we receive physically challenged even at our airport, and you just move out to maybe Heathrow Airport, and you see the attention given to physically challenged at Heathrow, and you compare it to Kotoka, you realize that we are really, really in trouble. We are not training people such that they will pay attention to the physically challenged. The person gets to the airport, if he doesn't make any approach to anybody, he or she is just left like that. But you just get to Heathrow Airport, and the moment they identify you are physically challenged, you don't need to do the approach. They come to you, attend to you attentively. There are physically challenged students outside this country who have PAs, personal assistants. They are physically challenged who are visually impaired. Outside where they have note takers, people who take their notes for them, and they are performing so well. They are physically challenged in this country who are so learned and brainy and doing a good job. And that is why inclusive education, we're supposed to ensure that within the educational setting at the basic level, we should fuse the physically challenged and the non-physically challenged. In the classroom where a physically challenged is able to beat non-physically challenged to mathematics or to any subject, the stigmatization will go. After all, they are supposed to come into the world of work with those who are not physically challenged. And therefore, when they are in the same classroom and they are beating them to it, the respect and the dignity will be accorded to them. Mr. Speaker, so it's very important. Let's also look at the opportunity that we can create for them after they've had the best education and we get them jobs to do. They are very useful. There are things that they can do that the non-physically challenged cannot do. And I've seen some of them performing so well. Mr. Speaker, recently 2 of them wrote in quote, the Makola exams. 2 visually impaired. They wrote the Makola exams and they passed. 1 touch.
Honorable, what is Makola exams?
Mr. Speaker, I know you are a very renowned lawyer. A very renowned lawyer. Makola is the professional education for our law students. Is that not how we call it? Well, I've seen Honorable are here for standing now. It's what? Ghana School of Law, thank you, contract. 2 of them visually impaired, and they were the first visually impaired SHS to University of the School of Law, also you call it. 2 of them. Mr. Speaker, as I speak to you, they had upper, second class upper, and the 2 of them Ghana School of Law entrance exams. 1 touch, and they passed. Yes, because so you can see that the moment they are empowered and they are given the opportunity to learn, they exhibit it. We see a lot of them by the roadside, Mr. Speaker, begging. Meanwhile, for all you know, if they were given the platform and to move on and to learn, they wouldn't be there begging. And therefore, we are telling parents and also trying to reach out to parents that these are people who can equally compete at all levels. They can only compete when they are given that platform, and they are given some advantageous platform that can lead them, leapfrog their abilities, and be able to do well. Let me stop here by associating myself to the statement made, and let's go by. We've done a lot. In fact, not to say Ghana haven't done a lot. Ghana has really done a lot for the physically challenged. But when you look at the gap between elsewhere, best practice, and where we are, we still have a big gap ahead of us. And I think putting ourselves together and having a deliberate policy to push them forward, we should be able to get them where they want to be. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement made by my Vandamate, Honorable Apak. Thank you very much.
Yes, let me come to Medina. Honorable Member for Medina.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the makers of this all-important statement, because I've always maintained that the development of a nation is defined by how the nation treats its most vulnerable people. So how we treat persons with disability is very, very key in this nation, and I am very happy that our colleagues brought this matter to the fore. Right Honorable Speaker, very, very unfortunately, we have as a nation consistently exhibited the lack of commitment to the cause of persons with disability. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the Disability Act, there was a 10-year moratorium for all public buildings to be disability friendly. Mr. Speaker, as we speak today, there are agencies and government buildings across the state which are not disability friendly. Mr. Speaker, consistently, people in authority take decisions that completely undermine support for persons living with disability. For example, the recent decision to close all toll booths across the country. Mr. Speaker, you saw what happened. Because these toll booths are manned by persons with disability. We did not even consult them. There was no prior notice.
They woke up one day and they said, you cannot work anymore. Mr. Speaker, it only shows how insensitive we have been as a people towards the cause of persons living with disability in this country. Mr. Speaker, let me refer the House to Article 15.1 of the 1992 Constitution, which says that, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I read, it says that the dignity of all persons shall be inviolable. The dignity of all persons, including persons living with disability. Very unfortunately, we have all undermined persons living with disability and undermined their dignity. How do we ensure that we promote and preserve the dignity of persons living with disability? Mr. Speaker, other nations through employment generation. For example, when you go to France, there is a piece of legislation that says that if you have a company with more than 20 workers, at least 6% must be persons living with disability. So if you are a business flouting these laws, you are made to pay. And when they pay, these monies are collected in one agency, which is used to support the cause of persons living with disability. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we have not, as a nation, come up with policy directions and pragmatic steps that will protect persons living with disability. Mr. Speaker, finally, before I bring my comment to an end, if you look at Article 17 of our Constitution that says that all persons shall be equal before the law, it seems, even though the Constitution says that all persons shall be equal before the law, unfortunately, when it comes to persons living with disability, they are not accorded equal protection and equal opportunity before the law. It is on this note that I support the makers of the statement, and it is my hope that the statement will indeed be referred to appropriate committee so that pragmatic steps will be taken to protect persons living with disability in Ghana. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Yes, let me come to a member for Ofolikro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to associate myself with the statement that has been made. And Mr. Speaker, to also associate myself concerns that my colleagues who have spoken before me have made. And Mr. Speaker, I think with this issue of implementing our Disability Act and taking actions to protect the dignity of persons living with disability, there are a couple of things that I find to be very practical that we should begin to work on. First of all, we need to start with data, that our various local assemblies are supposed to have data on persons living with disability. We need to find out to what extent are they complying with this requirement to have basic data about people who have some disabilities of a sort. Because without data, you are not able to plan for interventions to be able to deal with the challenges that these people will be facing. And so I would strongly want to suggest that the Ministry of Local Government must see to it that the requirement to have data on people living with disabilities in various MMDCs are taken on board seriously. Mr. Speaker, the other thing that is very basic that we can look at is the requirement. I recall that some time ago when we were passing the common fund formula, we directed that at least 20% of the funds that are allocated to disabilities should be used to support children with learning and development difficulties. I don't know whether the district assemblies have been complying with that kind of requirement and whether they are consciously allocating resources to make sure that children with autism and development challenges in the various districts have been targeted for this kind of support. And so I would also want to strongly urge that the local government ministry and the relevant parliamentary committee take charge and make sure that as part of our oversight, we ensure that the district assemblies are also complying with this. Mr. Speaker, the issues about disabilities, if we want to talk about it, we will keep on talking and talking. But I think that the time has come for us to have a parliamentary caucus that will focus their advocacy on disability and people with all kinds of vulnerabilities. And so just like we have a population caucus, I think the time has come for the Parliament of Ghana to have a strong disability caucus that will continue to advocate for the rights of people with disabilities to be respected and advocate for policies that will target these people to be formulated and to be implemented. The last point I would like to say is on the issue of developing or integrating certain skills into the training of people who are providing critical services to the public, i.e. nurses and maybe the police. Mr. Speaker, we know that there was a time that the news reported of a pregnant woman who was deaf that had a complication, went to the hospital, and because she could not communicate with the nurses about what she is going through, she had to die. So our nursing training should be able to have just a course, a little component of training that will allow everybody who is in the forefront of providing critical service to be able to do basic, for example, sign language, to be able to provide, as it were, first aid or get some basic information to be able to assist people who may be in dire need. If somebody has a disability or is a deaf and has a problem and goes to the police station, how is that person going to be able to complain about whatever is worrying him? So we need to look at these basic, little things that we can do to make sure that we are giving true meaning to the dictates of the Act on Disability. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, let me thank you very much and commend the maker of the statement.
Very well. May I come to the leadership? Yes, Honorable Deputy Minority Leader.
Yes, I rise to thank the makers of the statement in recognition of the International Day of Peoples Living with Disability. Mr. Speaker, as part of our laws, we have laws making provision for part of the District Assembly Common Fund to be spent in the interest of these people who are with disability. But there is one thing that we do not take critical look at. It's about how the assemblies are utilizing this fund. Are they actually using this fund in the interest of the people that are supposed to benefit? Public Accounts Committee, in our rounds, you will see that most of the assemblies will misuse the fund allocated for people with disability. You see them using part of this fund for other things. And we direct them at the committee level to refund the money back to the account and use it for the people with disabilities. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very important thing that all of us should take interest in and ensure that in our various assemblies do not misuse the fund and misapply the fund, but rather use the fund for the benefit of people with disability. It is only this way that we can, as a country, contribute in a little way to ensure that they do not suffer just because of their features in terms of their disability. So I want to thank the makers of the statement. I want to remind members of this aspect of our fund. And also, we can also try to analyze and see the amount that we are allocating, I think it's our 3% that we are allocating to the, as part of the common fund for people with disability, is it enough for these people? Mr. Speaker, the fund used to be shared to people with disability. The criteria for selection of people with disability who benefit this is another thing we should look at. Should we also think that instead of sharing the money to them, we use the money to establish them one after the other so that it becomes some capital upon which they can survive, rather than giving them, sharing the money to them, 200 Ghana, 300 Ghana, which they can spend within short time and then go original states. So, Mr. Speaker, these are the issues that we should look at critically. And if the local government committee can be tasked to do some kind of assessment and see if there is something we can do to increase the allocation, one, to ensure that the money is not misapplied by the assemblies, and two, to ensure, three, to ensure that the money is used to establish them so that they can survive on this money for long. That will help us all as a country. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me the chance to speak on this matter.
Yes, majority leadership.
Speaker, I rise to speak in support of the statement, and beginning on the note where my colleague ended, regretting how these monies are doled out to persons involved. If you look at the allocation made to the line budget allocated, clearly in the face of the extent or the volume of work on the ground is inadequate. In fact, be told is inadequate. We need to look at it. That is one aspect. The second aspect has to do with the concern about really doling out monies to persons with disability without really thinking about how we can actually look at a sustainable way of life. So yes, let's dole out these funds to support them, but we should also look at some, for want of a better expression, the entrepreneur development of these persons so that they can have a sustainable way of living. Speaker, I think that the narration has often been limited to non-governmental organizations, and then intermittently they come in to put out one or two interventions. We need to mainstream it. It must be mainstream into main development agenda of the country, the blueprint of our development agenda. That has to be done. And regrettably, government that have gone hasn't demonstrated enough commitments, especially in this line of business. And it's something we have to bring up and pay particular attention. Speaker, again, awareness is something that is also lacking. And we should have a concerted effort as a country to break that barrier and lift up the sense of awareness, because people have their own perceptions about disabilities and then the way persons with disabilities are treated across the country. We will have to break that jinx and move ahead. Recently, if you look across the country, a few projects, structures being put out, a number of them, you find them disability compliant. But as to whether in our laws we've been able to push enough for this to be recognized and to be seen as a need in our blueprint is another matter. So it's an important statement. I'll be very happy, Speaker, if it could be, at your discretion, it could be referred to the committee, your committee, to do some further work on it, probably raise the discussion beyond the statement level for it to generate the needed attention that this statement said. This, I support the statement fully, and I want to commend the makers of the statement for a well thought out statement. Speaker, I'm grateful.
Very well. Honourable members, upon the request of the maker of the statement and the concluding remarks of the Chief Whip, I hereby refer this particular statement to the Committee on Gender, Children, as well as local government to look into it and report back to Parliament. Is Honorable Dr. Kingsley Nyako around? Is Honorable Emmanuel Kwesi-Bedra around? Anyway, if they are not around, then let me come to leadership for any indications.
Speaker, I think we've had I think we've had enough for the day, and judging from the sense of the House, I think we can adjourn to tomorrow.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Leader. Very well. Honorable members, the referral, I'm told, is supposed to go to employment and social welfare as well as the local government. So on that note, we bring the curtains down. The time is hot. Employment and gender. Very well. As well as local government. So the time is 4:20 past 4. So, honorable members, I'll go ahead to adjourn the House.
If you indulge me, your referral is spot on. I said to say that we should probably, that's my thinking, for the local government, not the entirety of the committee, we should involve the leadership of the local government, because it comes under the purview of the first committee you referred the matter to, so that we involve the leadership.
Very well, let it be so. So, honorable members, I'll go ahead to adjourn the House to tomorrow, the 9th of December 2021 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Honorable members, the House stands adjourned.